right, welcome everyone. I have a very, very unique and special guest today, Brent Moreno, and we're going to talk about AI, which is something that I think a lot of people are hearing whispers about. I've been thinking about it on a daily basis, and I'm excited to go back and forth with Brent about it a little bit. So, Brent, welcome to the call. I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
Man, I appreciate you having me. Anytime I can talk AI, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, I follow you on Facebook, and I love your posts. They're very well written, and I don't think you're using ChatGPT to write them because they're better than that. So I
They
appreciate
help
the
me out
content
a
you're putting
lot
out.
on some. I mean, I call it what I call is like the 10-80-10 principle. Everyone's probably familiar with the 80-20 principle. With AI, it kind of reverses or changes it up a little bit to 10-80-10. And what I mean by that is 10% of the work's done by me. So I have the idea or the concept or the initial structure of, say, a post, for instance. Then I let 80% of the work be handled by ChatGPT, and then the rest of the 10% of the time is me coming in, kind of cleaning it up and making it a little more like me.
Gotcha. I think that's the future is AI assisted content, right? I think that's what
Yeah.
people are using it for. Um, but people may be wondering, this is mainly a real estate podcast, and why are we talking about AI here? There's a lot of different podcasts that talk about AI. Well, Brent used to be a real estate guy, and are you still doing real estate deals right now, and just maybe just talking about AI more so?
Yeah, so I mean, I have my license as an agent, and then but I only use it for like my own deals, and I
Gotcha.
currently, I'll always be involved in real estate. It's just not my day to day to be going out and looking for opportunities, but I will always buy an opportunity when they present themselves.
Gotcha.
So like I have a flip right now that I'm trying to wrap up. So I'll always be active in that. It's just that I won't have the large organization that I once had. I don't plan on building a full scale operation around wholesaling or flipping or buying holds or whatever. Just dipping my toes in, picking up a little bit here at a time, just to continue to build my portfolio.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you go on YouTube and you type in Brent Moreno, the number one video is you with Adam Johnson on Real Estate Disruptors from 4 years ago. You guys talk about you did over 1 million gross in revenue. So I would like to know how did you go from that real estate business doing 7 figures with your partner to now talking about artificial intelligence? Seems like a crazy pivot. How did we end up here?
So if you go a little bit farther back, even farther back, I spent about 10 years doing experiential marketing for Fortune 500 companies. So I worked for like Anheuser-Busch, Coca-Cola, 5 Hour Energy, Jack Links, you name it, managing marketing campaigns all over the country, mostly at events and festivals and things of that nature. So I've always been a marketer at heart. I got into real estate because my good friend Max Maxwell also used to do experiential marketing, and we worked alongside each other on an air show campaign. He worked for Air National Guard. I worked for Jack Links. We sponsored the same team.
Mhm.
Both had an entrepreneurial mindset. We always hit it off every time we got to hang out with each other. Next thing I know, he posts on Instagram, "I bought this house for 20 grand." And I've always been interested in real estate. I just always assumed that you had to have a ton of money to get involved, like you needed to have 100 grand in your account, and who has that kind of money? I was making good money and wasn't really spending a whole heck of a lot, but I didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in my account. So I hit him up, and he was like, "Man, I've been making like $20,000 a month for like the last 3 months. Next time you're in town," I was living in South Carolina at the time. He's like, "Drive up to Winston Salem. I'd love to show you what I'm doing." So I drive up there. He shows me what he's been doing. I was kind of like Jonah Hill on Wolf of Wall Street, and was like, "You showed me a check for 70 grand. I'm gonna quit my job." And he did. He opened his bank account and was showing me what he was doing. I was like, "And you don't have any money really in this?" He's like, "No, not at all." So I called my buddy Adam in Mississippi because I knew him and his dad had been, and his brother had real estate and they'd been flipping and they had rentals. And it's like, "Hey man, you ever heard of wholesaling?" He goes, "Oh yeah." He said, "Do it all the time." He's like, "Go read this book and tell me, come back with any questions." It was a book called like Flipping Properties Volume 2. It's an old book. I don't even think it's in print anymore, but it's a great like foundational book. Um, so I bought it on Amazon for like $4, read it in like 2 or 3 days, and was like, okay, I think this is something I want to try. And I think within like the first 3 months, I started just kind of whenever I was home, I would drive around and look for properties. And my first deal, I made like $13,000, and I was like, well, this is if I can, do one of these a month, like it replaces my 6 figure income. and I don't have to be on the road all the time. Which my wife was in law school. I knew we were planning on getting married, all those things. So I got into real estate that way. When she graduated, I moved to Mississippi. It was just natural for Adam and I to partner up, and I was got really good when I was in South Carolina at doing digital marketing. So I was doing Facebook ads, I was doing PPC ads, things of that nature, and I'd spent a lot of money joining masterminds, and really kind of learned how to scale and put employees in place because I didn't want to answer the phones anymore. Till it got to the point
Right.
where I didn't want to be going on appointments, things of that nature, and moved to Mississippi. And I was like, look, here's the deal. Adam was very old school, pen and paper type of guy. Didn't really even have internet at home. And I was like, my goal is for me to come in and handle all the marketing and get to the point to where you can't answer the phones enough. And then once that happens, we'll put somebody in place to answer the phones, a lead manager. And then once you go on so many appointments that you can't possibly go on any more appointments, then we'll hire somebody to do acquisitions. And then once we have more uh,
Right.
people, more acquisitions or more dispositions than you can handle, we'll hire dispositions. I think we eventually got that to about 7 people on our team, between acquisitions, dispositions, lead intake, VAs, and everything. Um, so we had a really good time, and a lot of us we were doing the Q&A, built an education business kind of around it, and I kind of took a step back from the day-to-day side of real estate. I was still heavily involved in the marketing side, but I started focusing on the marketing of our education business. We built that up really well. Fast forward, my wife's handling all of our closings. She has her own title company, and my dad ends up getting sick of COVID. He unfortunately passed away. That affected me mentally pretty heavily. And then there was a little bit of a dispute between my wife and my partner, and to the point where it was kind of a choice on, where I'm not. He didn't want to close with her anymore. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So we parted ways, and I moved to the beach. And I immediately kind of thought, I was like, well, I'm just going to come down here to a new market, and I'm going to start it all over again. I'm going to just build it all back up. But I found that I kind of lost that drive and I lost that flame. I didn't really love it anymore. Um, I enjoyed helping people through their deals, but as far as like the day to day grind of trying to build that operation up and looking at some of the other things that I had interest in, um, made me realize that maybe this isn't necessarily what I want to do, to build another business. And a lot of that stemmed from being in rooms with people who are doing $5-10 million a year, and looking at their numbers and looking at their overhead and uh, their churn, right? They are constantly hiring and replacing people and trying to scale. It's like if you were doing really good, you're only profiting about 50% of that, $3 to $5 million, and that's doing really good. Most businesses are typically in that 30 to 40% range. fifty
Right.
percent is a really good number. So I look at it and it's like, okay, and all those have partners. So by the time you break it all down, you may be making $1 million to $2.5 million a year, which is really good money. Like, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money.
I bet.
But then I noticed these guys doing marketing and uh, working from their laptops from anywhere in the world, and they're making $500,000 to $1 million, and it's just them and maybe one VA. Um, so I get into AI because of back in 2014, I watched a video called "Humans Need Not Apply," and it was all about AI and kind of what's coming. It was a little early for its time, but it's clearly laid out what's happening today. In 2018, Google announced Duplex. I was huge into cold calling, huge into hiring call centers to handle a lot of cold calling, and Duplex is essentially voice assistants. And
Was that the one where they had the demo where they called the hair salon to
yep,
schedule the appointment?
yep.
Remember that? Yeah.
So they announced that, and I, being friends with Max and knowing how his ties with call centers and everything else, like I immediately text him, uh, and I was like, "This is going to wipe out every call center. Like this is going to take over." Lo and behold, like Google ended up scrapping that project like years later and never really fully released it. But I jumped onto a lot of GPT-3 products in 2020. One of them's now called Jasper. It used to be called Conversion.ai, but it was
Yep.
built on OpenAI's GPT-3. And I was like, what is GPT-3? Started doing some research on it. There wasn't very many YouTube videos or anything like that around on it at the time. Just some really cool concepts on some things that people were building using it. I was like, this is fascinating, and it reminded me of that video I watched in 2014. And I was like, I want to get involved in this somehow, some way. But at the time, there was really no way to really touch these things, right? Unless you were a
Right.
researcher or you were connected and you had access to the API. They weren't just giving it to anyone. Um, and then ChatGPT launched in November of last year, and I immediately said, "This is what I'm focusing on." I was like, "I don't know what it's going to be or what it's going to do. I'm going to drop everything that I'm doing, and I'm going to focus on AI because I believe this is going to have 10x the impact of the internet in half the amount of time. So what can I do?" And I was like, "I'm just going to start writing about it. It keeps me accountable to make sure that I'm staying on top of things." And boy, is that not a full time job because the pace of everything happening right now is
It's crazy.
absolutely insane.
It's crazy. I think about it's crazy. It's only a year, like almost exactly a year ago. We were
Almost.
recording this mid-November, and you know, all tools with GPT-4 came out like 2 weeks ago or something. Where now like it's multi-model
Multimodal.
or
Yeah.
multimodal. Yeah, like if anyone doesn't know what that means, you can upload files, images, and it can spit
Video.
back out
Yeah.
the same. Like you can put it like I can upload a picture, open my fridge and take a picture of it and tell it to, give me a weekly recipe of stuff, and it's pretty insane. Or upload a photo and then have it. Like I know you had an app you were promoting. Uh, I'm debating about how technical to get with it because I you're way deeper in it than me, but I definitely follow it, and I don't want to like bore people with people have no idea. I got to remember like how much context we got to give people here. I'm sure you deal with that too. Um, but so GPT basically they've also come out with a way that you can make your own. It's like an app store for AI to an
Yeah.
extent, and it's very new, and that literally just came out a couple weeks ago. I know you created one called Cartoonify, right? Was
Yeah,
that
Cartoonify me. That was my very first one, and I
yeah?
didn't expect it to take off like it did, but it's had several thousand users already and getting shared on some pretty cool websites. I'm on my third one now, and I'm working on my fourth one. I was working on my fourth one this morning before I had some calls with a partner of mine. So my goal is like to just pump these things out because I have all these ideas in my head. So I was like, well, I'll just it makes it pretty simple to just create and iterate something that I've had in my head for a long time without having to go and actually program it.
And basically, what Cartoonify is, it's kind of like that viral craze Lensa, the app, right? Where you can like upload a photo of yourself, and then it'll cartoonify you, like literally, like make an image, and it's perfect. It like looks amazing. That's basically what it is, right? In a nutshell.
So what it does is it so Lenza was more of like generating AI photos of yourself that were more kind of realistic
Sure.
or like kind of futuristic or whatever. They gave you like 50 different options. So you would submit like five or six
Right.
headshots, and then they would just take those headshots and run with it and put you in all kinds of crazy scenarios.
Those are all the
Um,
AI photos everyone was posting on the internet. That's from Lensa.
yeah. Um, what Cartoonify Me does is allow you to kind of select your favorite cartoon characters. So like The Simpsons or South Park or King of the Hill or whatever. So you'll say, I want to cartoonify myself as The Simpsons characters, and it says, okay, well, upload your photo. You upload your photo, and then it'll take basically an image that you created or that you uploaded, and turn you and whoever else is in the photo into like the Simpsons characters or South Park characters or Family Guy characters or whatever. Just a fun little tool that really I don't have any intentions of trying to monetize
Monetizing.
in
Yeah.
any kind of way. It was just like, let me see if I can do this. And it actually spawned from a guy named Matt Schlitt who created Simpsonize Me. I was like, well, that's cool. I was like, but why stop at Simpsons? Let's try every single cartoon character. So
Hmm.
that's what I did. I just kind of took what he did and just added to it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So I'd like to dive in. I mean, obviously, this is like a real estate podcast here, and I want to know that selfishly, even just for my own business. So I've been wholesaling for 10 years roughly. I kind of have a partner, and kind of like you, I've maybe outsourced that part, and I focus on a marketing agency that I have for run PPC for investors and stuff. So if you're a real estate investor, let's say you're somewhat successful, maybe you have a couple people on your team, maybe you're solo. Is there anything right now that people can use to either make more money in their business, or make their lives easier and make the same amount of money right now. Not like, because here's the thing, like all these AI podcasts, they talk about predictions. Like, oh, what do you think is going to happen next year and 5 years?
Right.
Who the fuck knows? I don't know. And but I think the technology is at a point right now where people can do stuff. So I'm very interested in what can be done right now that maybe people don't realize, because it's so hard to keep up with everything.
Well, for me, and I think for most businesses in general, so I do a little bit of consulting on the side. So I just did a 2 day boot camp at a large resort in Florida with like 45 to 50 managers from that resort. It's all about productivity increase. So it's not necessarily like what can I do, what kind of AI campaign can I run that's going to generate me the most money. It's about what's going to save me time. And as we all know, well, I think time is more valuable than money, but everyone always correlates time with money.
Sure.
And every research, all the research that I've read shows that just having access to ChatGPT typically has a 14% or greater increase in productivity. And if you add that up over a 52-week period, that's almost 7.5 weeks of time that you gain back just from having access to ChatGPT. Now, what does that mean for you as a real estate investor? Well, think about the content, right? If you're doing SEO, there's no better time to be involved in SEO than to have access to ChatGPT. Because if you understand a little bit about basic prompting, if you don't, there's thousands of videos out there that tell you how to be a better prompt engineer. It's really not difficult. All that is just how do you talk to the computer, right? And I treat it like it's a freelancer. If you've ever had a job done on Fiverr, there's all these sets of questions that they want to ask you so they can have a better understanding of what the ultimate
Sure.
goal of what you're trying to accomplish is. So I direct it the same exact way that I would a freelancer in any kind of industry. I give it context that you are XYZ, you're a SEO expert who works with real estate investors to help generate leads for motivated sellers. You will analyze my website and you give it the link. If you have GPT-4 access, which is the best $20 a month, I would cancel every subscription that I have just to keep that one. Matter of fact, I was part of the polling whenever they were announcing they were going to release it. They're like, "What would you pay for this?" And I think I was like, "Please don't make it too expensive, but I'm willing to pay like $200 a month for this."
Yeah,
Thank
I would
God,
totally pay. I was thinking
they
about
came
that. I'd
out of
probably pay 500 a month
yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, at the time, I didn't know what GPT-4 was then because it wasn't
Yeah.
released. But I was like, I'll pay like I think I put 250 was like I think that's the sweet spot. If you can 250 a month, like I think you could get that, and they probably could right now and not really lose a whole hell of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they just today or yesterday announced they put a pause on new signups because of how much increase in activity they've gotten.
Oh wow.
It's slowing their system down, so they're trying to catch up before they let
Yeah.
anybody else in.
They're gonna raise prices, no doubt. I'm
So
sure.
how can you use it right now? I mean, content is the easiest answer that I'm sure everyone gives, but
Right.
having a curious mind and asking really good questions will get you a long way in ChatGPT. And if you don't know what questions to answer or what questions to ask ChatGPT. That's kind of the beauty of it. It literally is the mentor, the guru, the expert in almost anything and everything you could possibly ask it because it's the entirety of the internet that's basically summarized at your will or at your whim. So, creating
Gotcha.
content is
Gotcha.
by far the best. Like one of the things that I created early on was I started getting a lot of pushback, like for realtors and other things. Like, well, I tried to have it write me a listing description and it just made up beds and baths and features and all this other things. It's like, well, because you didn't give it any context. So let me dumb this down for you. So I went and created a Google form. I connected that Google form to Zapier, which connected to OpenAI. I connected my API to it, and I said, look, if you just answer these 12 questions on this form, it'll email you the perfect listing description. And I've taken that idea since, and yesterday released listing description GPT, which is essentially the same thing where it'll just in conversation ask you those questions, or you can upload the address and have it search Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor.com, and it'll pull all that context and write the listing description for you. What I found by doing it with the link way or doing it with just the address and searching way is you're going to get a lot of context that you don't really want or need in there, so you'll have to summarize it from there. But if you just take the time to answer the 8 or 9 questions that it asks you, it's going to spit out a beautiful listing description that normally you would have paid if you were paying a copywriter would have paid anywhere from $100 to $300 depending on who it was that you have writing. And I actually went and trained um, my model on some of the most well known copywriters for listing descriptions. I just did a search, and I went and searched for some of their listing descriptions. I started copying them and feeding it to the model, analyzed the tone, and it would give me the basically how exactly their writing style was, so I could then take it and put it inside my bot essentially. Um, but that that's one of those things. Like if you're a realtor and you're thinking, or even if you're a flipper and you're listing something, like that's something that would normally take you 30 minutes to probably think to really write a good one. If you get lazy with it, obviously you can do it in no time. But if you want to write a really good one, this one takes you like 5 minutes, and you have a perfectly well crafted listing description that's perfect for your home.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And you know, I'm trying to wrap my head around the constraints of the technology, and it's difficult because it is changing so much, and
Yeah,
maybe there's a pointless thought exercise, but I wish there was just a tutorial that, or like a PDF that said, "Hey, you're a wholesaler or you're a flipper. Here's ChatGPT, this new technology. Here's the 30 things that you should be doing, like an SOP for it, almost." Like
yeah.
every person I talk to is very vague. Like I get them, you can make content, but most wholesalers are not making content. Like listing descriptions, like okay, you can save 30 minutes here and there. But to me, it's like still very out there. Like, it can do everything, but then if it can do everything, it's just very hard to, I think, for the average person to grasp their head around. And I'm still like, I'm in it every day, and I'm still trying to
All
wrap
right.
my head
Say
around
you're a
around it.
wholesaler, right? Most wholesalers are in Facebook groups where deals are posted, right?
Sure,
Right, and then the buyers drop their emails to get those deals sent to them in those comments, correct?
sure.
So normally you would take the time to go and copy and paste every single one of those into a spreadsheet. Now you can
Yep,
literally just take the entire thread, text and everything, names, text, all that stuff, drop it into ChatGPT, and it's like, please give me only the emails off of this Facebook thread. And now it takes it and it gives you all those emails. And now I can just take and copy it over to my spreadsheet, and I have those. Um, that's one small example of like how this is going to save you time and help you. You could build a bot that goes and scrapes uh, your public data. There's browse.ai, they do that for you. So, like if you're pulling public records, you can have it to where it sets up and it automates that process for you. I haven't personally built that myself, but that's something that's not out of the realm of doing it, not having a lot of coding uh, knowledge anyone could do. Matter of fact, if you don't know how to do it, ask ChatGPT. It will literally do it for you. You can create a web scraper inside of ChatGPT. Just tell it what you're looking to do. Give it the address, give it the files. Now it's going to depend on how your file structure is set up in your with your courthouses, but you can certainly do that, and to where it automatically will update you every single time something's new and fresh.
so to me, it sounds like the best thing to do if we wanted to, let's say, maximize the output or leverage ChatGPT as much as we possibly can, we would write down, we spend a few days to write down literally everything we spend our time doing, like
Yeah,
all the minutia of like, I'm going to Facebook or blah blah blah, I'm sending emails, I'm doing this. And then you go through the whole list. Let's say there's 120 things on it, and then you say, can AI do this? Like, how many of these can AI just do better for me? Would you think that would be the way to, and to me, if you're consulting, that's what you could be doing for other people. Like, I think people should be paying someone like you right now to come in their business who have no idea how to use ChatGPT, which is the majority of people. I
yeah.
still think they don't really understand it, and do that exercise. Is that how you would see? Like, I know you're doing consulting. Is that how a consulting would work, or is that what you think people should do to really grasp this technology?
Yeah, so we kicked off our consulting. I say we because I had a friend that was in on this with me. He's also a pretty well known digital marketer, on the cusp of things. But he's the one that booked it, called me in and was like, "Hey, like you're somebody that I trust in this realm." He's like, "You're somebody that I actually know is paying attention to this. Could give me some guidance on it, and we'll pull you in and we'll work this together." I was like, "Great." So so the whole situation was more of like over the shoulder, right? Like just showing them what was capable, what current technology exists, what's capable and working with different departments. So like we a lot of it we did breakouts where we went table by table, and all the departments were sitting at different tables. Uh, what's fascinating is thinking of things like what's the house. I have no idea what a housekeeping manager does on a day to day basis. I don't know that until I sat down with her and I said, yeah, I gave her this prompt. I said, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to focus on one problem that you have right now that you need a solution for. And she goes, well, I need to write a business case proposal of why we need to replace these old washer and dryers with this newer model. And I don't know how to do that. I said, okay. I said, so just type that in right here. And it was under a prompt that I call the one prompt to rule them all, which is essentially automatically creates a super prompt based on your problem or suggestion. It's the only prompt you'll ever really need to help you solve some problems. And I'll be happy to
Is
share
it
that
like
with
something like, here's my problem now, now write the perfect prompt for this prompt? Is it like a meta prompt type of thing?
it's kind of a so it understands. So it starts with you're an expert prompt engineer, right? And then what makes an expert prompt engineer? I give it the context. Like, well, you always give context. You define goals. You ask for input, and you set a criteria because creativity loves constraints. And you set a format, right? So there's 5 things what I call makes a super prompt. So she sat down and said she basically told me wrote in the same exact thing she told me. I need a business case proposal for why we need to replace these washers and dryers with this. And it literally within 10 seconds spit out this big long email thread that was going to be going out to her general manager, who was also in the room, with all the case numbers, or I mean all the numbers and every metrics and everything on why this made sense to replace these. And she was like, this would have taken me easily a week to do. I was like, well, we just did it in 10 seconds. I turned to the general manager and
That
I
was
was like,
quick.
expect to be getting a lot of emails in the next few weeks here from everyone in this room because they've all got proposals they need to send your way, and this is going
Right.
to do it faster and easier for them. Um, so on the consulting side, it's a bit of a mix, right? So I have a large company right now that's came to me. I have an NDA, so I can't say who it is, but they want me to help them integrate AI applications into an app that they're building. So I'm not personally building those, but I'm ideating with them, and a large part of that ideation comes from ChatGPT. I have some ideas and theories in my mind that I feed it, and then I build upon that. And then I presented it to them, and I'm probably going to be in Chicago meeting with them in the next month. But that's a very large client of mine that isn't asking me to come in and work over the shoulder with them, but helping them implement and integrate AI. Then I have another
Right.
beer client where I'm going to be spending 3 days with their brewery team, with their marketing team and their brewers, and we're going to develop a a beer brand or a brand new beer that's completely the recipe is done by AI, the logo is done by AI, all the video and marketing is done by AI, and they're going to have in 3 days they're going to have a clear understanding of how to use these tools, but not only clear understanding of how to use them because we're doing it all together. Um, but they're also going to be able to use that moving forward to help them pump out more marketing material much faster than they normally would and help them ideate and brainstorm in a way they've never done it before.
That's really
Right.
exciting, man.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
brand marketing is like that's always been kind of my love and marketing in general. We're all marketers, right? And whether you're a wholesaler or
Sure.
whatever, like we all have a brand to represent, and figuring out creative and fun ways to build upon your brand, especially using things like ChatGPT that make things a lot easier, is kind of where I mesh really well. And of course, I can come in and like show you how to use ChatGPT or show you how I use it. As a matter of fact, like I use it to help me write my daily newsletter. It's about 3,000 words a day that I put out there. Now that would normally take my newsletter is modeled after The Hustle, which has had over like 1 million subscribers, sold for several millions of dollars, and they had a staff of like 15 people. I do all this every day in about 2.5 to 3 hours uh, by myself.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Now, okay, a couple topics I want to touch on here. SEO. I want to circle back to. I think most of it's around content, and anyone who's listened to my podcast or any of my YouTube videos knows I'm a very skeptical and curious person, and you know, obviously AI can be good to write, can help you with SEO. And I know Carrot, I used to work there for a long time, and they're I think I don't know if they've launched it yet, but like an AI rewrite tool for Carrot websites.
Yeah,
I know you're friends with Trevor and whatnot, and
I spoke to them
if you
yesterday. Actually, we
oh,
did
you did.
we did a podcast yesterday.
Oh, cool, awesome, awesome, making the rounds, making the rounds. This is good. So if you're the CEO of Carrot, what would you be doing? Because to me, I'd be very concerned, and not just Carrot, but any SEO company really. Like even my and I know you mentioned this before in other podcasts. Like your user behavior is already different. Like I really don't go to Google to get information unless it's like a local pizza place for now.
Yeah,
For like it's like a directory, but to get information, I don't need Google anymore
no,
to a large extent. So yes, it can make SEO easier, but or is everyone is that a short-sighted frame of mind? Where really like it's all spinning our wheels 5 years from now, it's all gonna be gone.
it's really hard to tell, right? I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't. And those who live by a crystal ball usually end up eating glass.
Yeah.
So SEO, yes. I mean, there's a very real possibility we won't be visiting websites in 5 years,
Right.
right? I mean, you might
Yeah.
be. You look at what Humane's already launching now. Whether or not that takes off is going to, I think, largely depend on how much developer support that they give to people, or they give access
That's
to
the little
developers.
AI pin,
Yeah,
right? Where you basically it's trying to replace
the phone.
it's replacing the interface. There's no
Yeah,
more phones. You
yeah,
just can just talk and it does ChatGPT stuff.
right. You look at things
Yeah.
like that, like if something like that catches on, like maybe 5 years from now we're not on our phones and we're not browsing the internet. We have a personal assistant that does everything for us, that provides us with all the information that we need. I do think in the next 5 years we will have a Jarvis like assistant. But again, as I'm always a proponent of make hay while the sun is shining. So if it
Yeah.
works now, stick to doing it if you're doing it because it's never been easier to do it and everyone else is going to be doing it. So if you're not already hopping on the train of producing as much quality content as possible, you're already losing. So
Right.
jump on because it literally takes no time to do it. Get in now and go ahead and do it. As a matter of fact, there's a company called Speedy Brand that makes it stupid simple to curate your SEO that will literally just do all the research, all the internal linking, everything right from the jump. And I don't think it's very expensive. I want to say it's like $50 a month,
What's
and
the
it's
company?
using AI.
Do
What's
you have the
that?
name of it?
Speedy Brand. They're actually a Y
Speedy
Combinator
Brand.
company.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, I think
Hmm.
they were the spring edition, and they've already launched their product. I tested it. You can go use a free trial and literally write several articles, Facebook posts, Instagram, every LinkedIn, everything you could possibly imagine. And like I said, it will handle all the linking, handle all your analytics. It'll rank all the difficulty scores, all that stuff that you normally would look for in like SEO. Is it going to replace like the most best SEO expert in all the land? Probably not. But will it get you to where you need to be? And what most people care about is just getting the job done. Yes, absolutely. You asked me about what would I be doing if I was Carrot, and knowing Trevor and knowing the team over there, I think they're perfectly positioned where they're at simply because they didn't build just a software product; they built a community. They provide ample amount of support that if you're just getting into this business, like Carrot was the first thing. Carrot and Colorado were the first two things that I bought that I never let go of. Um, so I think he's doing it right, and I think he's adding value. And if you're in a software business right now, if you're a SaaS provider, I think you should be worried if you don't have that community because software is eating itself. And what I mean by that is the future is if you can describe it, and now since we have multimodal, if you can describe it or take a picture of it, you can create it. So why do I need to be paying a CRM company if all I got to do is plainly describe what I want my CRM to do and look like, and the computer can just code it and build it for me?
Yeah, that is maybe the era of, billion-dollar SaaS exits is coming closer to an end there to some extent.
Right.
And oh man, it's just I guess for me, I'm always trying to stay one step ahead. And as I think the early adopters are gonna do well with it, and they probably already are. But like, if everybody can make anything, like if everyone can use Speedy Brand to rank high, then isn't like let's say 100 people in Phoenix are using it, then none of them are going to rank because there's only so many spots
Right.
as well. So isn't it like a neutralizer where it basically just raises the level, but it doesn't actually take anybody further because we're all competing against each other,
What
right?
I have found is, and I'm sure you have too over the years, is that you can tell everyone exactly how to do what everything that you've done, and only about 5% of the people will actually do it.
That's fair.
You could literally give them the playbook and say, "Hey, here's how I built $1 million business. Everything I did, everything I made mistakes on. Here's the blueprint. Go for it." And most of them won't even turn the first page, let alone get to halfway through the book.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's a time frame thing. Like I think eventually people will be forced to get it, but who knows how long it could take. And at that point, if everyone's like, "Oh, if you want to rank your website high on Google, you need to, follow these X prompts or get your Jarvis or hire Speedy Brand or whatever." And at that point, everyone's already done it. Then it's like on to the next thing. Like, well, now it's like
Well, you
now
know
you
as
gotta,
well as I do,
yeah,
things are cyclical, right? Like there's
right,
times where PPC works really, really well, and then everybody's on the bandwagon, and your price goes up. And then there's times
right,
where it gets too expensive, and you're like, all right, this doesn't make any more sense. Maybe we
right.
revisit it again later. Marketing is always evolving and always changing, and you got to be willing to zig when others zag. And you only know that by keeping your finger on the pulse and understanding your numbers.
That's true. That's true. And that's not going to change.
Yeah.
Fundamental principles about how to be successful are still going to be the same.
Right.
So I'm curious. I run a Google Ads agency. All I do is Google Ads, which is machine learning. It's been that way for a while. If you were me, how would you be leveraging AI, you think, as a owner of a marketing agency who's running Google Ads?
So here's where I think things get really interesting for agency owners. If I'm Facebook and I'm Google and they've already kind of shown their cards on this, what they're kind of planning on doing. Number one thing right now is the number one question right now is figuring out. Everyone wants to know how do they get to the top of Google's new SGE, right? That's their search generative experience. That's their new
Sure.
AI search feature. Now they just released it all across the U.S. Everybody has access to it. Who uses it and who doesn't? I think it's going to be a lot more of your younger audiences, so it may not be your
Yep.
target demographic. But where
Right.
things get really interesting is that with machine learning, it's going to be much easier for anyone to go and run their own ads, an A to Z to ZZZ test every single thing and not have to touch it. Right. So a lot of times as an agency owner, you're looking at what's performing, what can I cut, what negative keywords do I need to add, and they already have a lot of these features now with their automated ads, and it works okay. But if Google's primary mission, and that's where majority of their money comes from, is ads, uh, they're going to want to try to figure out a way to make it as simple as possible to where you just upload your website and it automatically goes, okay, here's what we recommend. Here's 1,000 different A to Z tests that we can run, and we're going to start killing and adding as we go and scaling the best and removing the worst automatically without you even having to worry about it. Same goes for Facebook. And machine learning makes that incredibly easy over time. But again, if everyone jumps in and starts doing it, well, then obviously the prices go up, things increase, and then you have to keep your finger on the pulse of the numbers. Like, hey, does this make sense for me anymore? No, all right. Well, maybe we'll take a pause on this for now, and then we come back again. But it also is not, again, not having a crystal ball. Are we going to
Right.
Google in 5 years? Are we even
Right.
doing basic search in 5 years? It's been all we've known for the last 20 years, and it's going to take a while for users to change their habits. But I've already changed mine, and it sounds like you've already changed a lot of yours.
Hmm.
I'll use ChatGPT and Perplexity for pretty much all of my information. The only time I go to Google is if I'm looking specifically for a brand that I can't think of if it ends in a .com or an .io.
Right. Right. Yeah, I do think that the long term play is community, as you were saying, like at least the safest play. Like people want to, there's value in people connecting with other people.
Correct.
That will always be the case, regardless of what software eats itself and who's using Google. If you have a community like Carrot or even like I'm trying to build one, I think that's a safe bet for the
Yeah.
future.
And that's going to be the
100%.
safe bet for AI in pretty much every industry, right? Because
Yeah.
people are still going to want human connection. Um, at least I'm a firm believer in that. At least I feel like I'll always want human connection. Now we can get into the AI girlfriends and all that stuff that people
Sure.
are doing now, but I still think there will always be that drive to like find like minded people. And I believe that no matter what your interests are, or no matter what your business is, there put yourself out there. What I say is like choose your vibe, find your tribe, right? No matter what it
Yeah.
is you're into, there's thousands of other people who are also into it. No matter how weird somebody else thinks it is, you have an audience and you have a niche and you have a tribe that you can be a part of.
I think the future is going to be just like a lot of micro communities for like niche things out there, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And yeah, it's just I think the reason why Google didn't release, because obviously Google came out with a white paper like 2017 about GPT, and that came out, and then kind of
YouTube is
OpenAI
all
kind
you
of
need.
yeah, crazy, right? Cheeky paper, but the reason why OpenAI kind of came out ahead of time, released it first, I think because if Google released it, it would cannibalize its own business model,
Correct.
right? So like,
100%.
why would it do that when it's now not getting ad revenue? It's tricky. It's a tricky position for it to be in. Okay, so I know we probably only have a few minutes left here, but anything you want to promote? Like you got your newsletter out. What's the reason why you're going on these podcasts? Like, what's in it for Brent? What are you looking to do right now?
So, unlike most people, I'm not going to be on YouTube saying, "Here's the 10 best ways to make money with ChatGPT" or any of that shit. Um, I
My
don't
whole
have
Twitter
any.
feed is full of that. It's so annoying.
I don't have any courses. I don't have any TikToks
Yeah.
trying to sell anything or promote anything. My newsletter is completely free. It's called Ideations. It's AIDEATIONS .com. It's completely free, and it's by far the most comprehensive newsletter in the world of AI. And why do I do that? It's primarily to stay on top of things. I share research every single day. I share prompts every day, tools every day, news every day. I just started adding GPTs of every day. Everything that I find interesting in this whole huge world of AI, which is a lot of news stories that I can't even possibly get to because there's only so much I can cover in a day. Otherwise, Gmail is going to start flagging me for sending too much content. Um, so why do I do it? Well, number one is I care about the future of work. I care about society as a whole. I want to have a seat at the table of regulations. That's my goal, hopefully, of being able to kind of be the regular person that's there, that's not, OpenAI or Google or Elon Musk or whoever that's there directing things. I know that's a kind of a long shot, but the more awareness I can bring to myself and to what I'm doing, I think I can eventually get there. Um, and I want to be able to get my name out there and hopefully do a little bit of consulting because I believe the only way forward currently is that everyone needs upskilling. If you're in a corporation right now and you're thinking of how can we integrate or develop an AI strategy, I want to be that guy that comes in and shows your team how we can increase your productivity. You're talking about 7.5 weeks of productivity gains. You scale that across several thousand employees. That's some really big numbers. So I think there's a use case for that, and I think there's just not a lot. There's not a lot of people in this market that can come in and has had their finger on the pulse since day one of ChatGPT being released that can actually pull it off and do it confidently. I mean, obviously, there's your mega corporations that are already integrating, and they've been integrating AI for years. But as far as like having direction on what their staff is doing, we're going to need people like myself to go into these companies and help people basically retain their jobs for at least little bit longer until eventually I feel like 80% of the work can be done by AI.
That's crazy. Yeah. What is everyone going to do? That's a whole other conversation. I mean, we could talk for 10 hours about all this stuff. It's crazy. And I definitely want to talk offline about consulting because, I mean, I think if you're sleeping on this, you're going to be like behind quick.
Yeah,
It's to me scary that it's honestly, I don't think people realize, I think if people realized how powerful it was, they would probably want more regulation already to be in place. I think because like putting this type of like nuclear bomb in the workforce so quickly,
it's not good.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Maybe in the long run, but it's
There's
tricky.
my only suggestion of that is like there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. We're not
Right.
there's no really slowing things down. We can do some things to make it less burdensome, but we have to start thinking about society as a whole when humans need not apply, and what that looks like and what we want that future to look like. I think we can build a future of abundance, and I think people will still have jobs that if they want jobs, but our lives and like our what how we identify ourselves won't be tied to our careers or our work. A lot of it can be automated, and a lot of it can be handled. Maybe we won't. Maybe I want to be a fly fishing instructor. That's what I want to do. All right, great. That's my job now. Um, how many
Yeah.
of those are there? Who knows? But we'll have to figure out a way to solve those problems, and that's one of the things that I'm working on is building passive income data solutions. Because I believe that we've all contributed to AI, we've all contributed to big data, but we've none of us have been benefited from it. So I'm actually applying to Y Combinator right now with an idea that puts money in our pockets and treats personal data as personal property that can be bought, sold, traded, or leased.
That's going to be a tough battle against the big companies. Microsoft might not be happy about that, right? That's a. I love that though. I love your journey, and I think what you're doing is really bold. And I want to stay connected with you because I don't think there's a lot of people who have the guts to just go pivot their whole career. And the true, I think, great stories of business that I see often involve a great pivot like the one that you've done. So I'm going to stay close with what you're doing, and I hope you double down and keep doing it, man.
Well, it certainly
I
hadn't
respect
been
you for it.
easy. I got called a lot of different crazy things for doing it, but luckily I have an amazing wife. She already has a seven-figure business, so I can. And she was like, "Look, I support you 100%. I want you to be happy. You're stressing yourself out over all this real estate because going into a new market, finding new contractors, well,
Yeah,
no, thank you. That
not
sucked.
fun.
Yeah, not fun at all." So she was like, "You're stressed out. You don't enjoy this. Why are you still doing it?" I was like, "Because it's the only way I know how to make money other than going back out on the road and doing marketing for another brand, which keeps me away from home. And I don't want to do that." She's like, "Well, find something else." I was like, "Well, marketing is my thing. AI is here." Like that was soon the day it launched. I think we were in New York City, and I was like, "I got to get to my computer," and I was like literally doing everything on my phone from the web browser. I was like, "This is amazing. Like this is like." I think I had like 5 ideas for that night. I was like, stayed up all night, like playing on it.
Yeah,
But no, it hasn't been easy. It's not an easy thing to say. Just drop a what you know and what you do well, uh, to just totally shift and go like I'm going to go into the unknown and not make any money for a while. Luckily, I
right.
had her support. Not everyone has that. I understand. Um, but it's been fun. I can say that, and it's finally gotten to the point in the last 2 months or so where things are paying off. Like I'm having conversations with the VP of technology at EXP, and I'm having conversations with these major corporations, helping them integrate. And I'm doing some fun side projects with a brewery and helping a resort. I was like, man, if I could just do like 10 of these resorts a year, and
You
I could
said
travel to resorts, and I'm fine. Like I'm good.
right, right, dude. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
So,
Is there any parting words you want to leave with the audience here as we wrap it up?
I'll in case no one's haven't hasn't heard this yet. AI is not here to replace you. Someone with AI will. So keep that in mind. Be curious. Ask a lot of questions. Give ChatGPT everything, your warts and all. Right? You're not having to talk to an actual person and be embarrassed about anything. So talk to it like an actual person. Tell it everything it needs to know. Give it all the context, and I promise you, you'll see a massive uh, uh, uplift and help from just being able to be honest and open with your computer.
I 100% agree with that. It's a testament. I've literally laid it all out there to my point. My wife is like, Tim, you shouldn't be telling the robot this. Like, who knows what they're doing with this information? I don't feel comfortable with this, but it is a great coach, a performance coach. It can really help you with literally any problem you have. It's
Yeah,
helped me a lot. I feel like I'm moving faster
it can help you
because
mentally,
of it. So,
spiritually, productivity wise, like anything and everything.
absolutely. Well, thanks, Brent. That's why I wanted to bring you on. I'm all for this technology, and I hope this is the first of many conversations. And I'll be watching your journey, man. I respect what you're doing, and keep up the good fight, man. Thank you.
Yeah, let's definitely stay in touch, brother. I appreciate it.
Take care, man.
All right.